All right, so crypto market update. Follow up on the Bitcoin breakout. So, a lot of green. Nice predominance of green. Seems like we're having a little bit of a retrace. Oftentimes, what can happen is sometimes you'll get a retrace that retests the prior resistance trend line to turn it into support, which is fine. As long as it stays up above this line, then we'll likely continue on this trajectory. It doesn't look like a fake out necessarily to me, but it doesn't mean that it's not a fake out. Markets need to retrace, right? Retracement is a good thing. Generally can mean continuation, as you can see, and oftentimes, if it holds up above here, right? Because we also broke out of resistance area in this area as well. So, it's natural to perhaps retest resistance either here and here. And if it establishes as support and bounces, then it's all good. So, personally myself, I'm not putting too much, unless we get some big movement that takes us all the way back down and back into this range. I'm not paying too much attention to the immediate fluctuations, right? I see a potential of, kind of a continuation bull channel and possible breakout. If we continue retracing, and yeah, this is recorded. So that's Bitcoin, right? That is Bitcoin. And so ultimately, I'm not going to wait till a few days before August 1st for to take profit or whatever, right? I'll hopefully this trend picks up some volume and momentum, right? And then if that happens, then the next few weeks should be bullish. But I fully intend on selling it to strength. Now, what's interesting is after August 1st, one of two things will happen. Either we're going to have such a large black swan event that the network splits in two and there's maximum chaos in the markets, and maybe that triggers a longer bear trend. Or we have some fear leading up to August 1st, some uncertainty. The markets dump, perhaps after going up to higher levels. And then if August 1st turns out to be positive and favorable on the fundamental level, we could have a massive rally. So, this is where we combine the technicals with the fundamentals. So there could be, one of the reasons I want to sell into strength is because there could be a good dip buying opportunity to be able to buy back in cheaper. So these are the different breakout levels. So we've already broke out of this. Now we broke out of this level. We've got a breakout level here, and we've got a breakout level, up in this zone above the all-time high. So effectively, let's just call it 3,000. It's the final breakout level. And my preference is to get into my position earlier, over here. So I started scaling in as we're leading up and bouncing the breakout, basically close to a break even. I cut out to manage risk and jump back in close to break even, I guess minus fees, not a huge deal. Range is getting tighter. My reasoning for doing that is because there's no guarantee that this trend line's gonna hold, right? So it's just kind of playing around a bit with risk management, and obviously things get a little choppy, but as long as I'm doing one of two things, as long as I'm buying back in either lower and cheaper than where I sold, right, or buying back in as close to break even as possible in a tighter range. Obviously there's not a lot of range here, because for all we knew, maybe it could have broken down and rolled over, and then I would have felt like pretty good about cutting out when support broke, right? So just playing around. Now I'm going to be a little more patient. Now that it feels like we could be building up some momentum, and we broke out of this line, and we broke out of this local high here, I'm just going to be patient, and I think I'm going to trend ride until we have a breakdown of an immediate trend line, or hit my targets and sell into strength, right? So that's Bitcoin, and I guess a lot of the same will apply to altcoins. Obviously, if Bitcoin goes bullish, then a lot of altcoins will likely continue on a nice bullish trajectory. That said, any specific altcoin trade that I might decide to take will have very measured targets. They're not going to be the, ride the trend for 3 months or whatever like I've been doing before. So now I'm thinking more of specific targets and exits, and eventually want to be at least 70% into 70% into dollars ETC. I keep getting this question about USD on exchanges versus USDT, and to me they're pretty much one and the same, really. So it doesn't matter, right? So when I hedge into dollars, if I'm on an exchange that only has USDT, like Poloniex and Bittrex, then I'll use USDT. If I'm on an exchange like, Kraken or whatever, and they offer USD, then I'll do it for USD. If you're on a local exchange that is trading won or, euros or whatever, then trade, hedge in your local currency. So don't get overly fixated over USD versus USDT. They both, for me as a trader, serve the exact same purpose, which is to hedge into something that's stable so I can buy back in cheaper, right, on the next dips type of thing. Buy low, sell high. That's the only purpose. As far as the technicalities of each of them, USDT is backed by Bitfinex from alleged cash reserves in a bank. USD is backed by whatever exchange you happen to be trading on. Both come with counterparty risk. Both only represent US credits of USD. As far as tax purposes, depending on what jurisdiction you're in, it differs from place to place. In Canada and likely in the United States, and perhaps some other countries, I know it's definitely the case for Canada, any trading, even for altcoins, is considered a taxable event. If you go to Bitcoin.tax or one of these tax programs, even if you trade between Bitcoin and Dogecoin, they're still going to calculate the dollar value of the Bitcoin and the Dogecoin and treat that trade and whatever profit accrues from it as a taxable event. So obviously check with the jurisdiction that you're in. Everyone has to do their own due diligence. That's just what I found and what I've seen. So for me, it doesn't matter if it's USD or USDT or Dogecoin or some random thing. It all gets taxed the same. So that's that. That's Bitcoin. It's the other largest market I'm in, CTC. And again, I want to be crystal clear. If Bitcoin hits between 3,700 to 4,000, I'm selling most of my altcoin bags, except for 50% of my Ethereum Classic, 100% of my CFI that I'm just going to keep. And, you know, I'll probably sell about 70% of my Bitcoin. And that's it. I don't care what bag it is. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm consolidating. I'm reducing it all. I'll sell it into strength. I'm not going to wait for everything to go red or bleed or whatever. I'm just going to sell into strength. Reason why I haven't done that before yet is because the trend's not over till it's over, right? The Bitcoin's still been holding up on the trend line. So, you know, I reduced positions but kept a bit of everything because we could make a final push up. But I'm going to sell into strength. And I'm not, you know, there's some people who seem to diversify into like really illiquid coins on Cryptopia, and that works for them, but they don't have a lot of liquidity, and so that doesn't work for a lot of people without pumping the markets up. And I still personally have my reservations or some skepticism as to how much of its USD value could retain, but we'll see. Anyways, so this is Ethereum Classic. I'm just waiting. Seems like it's consolidating here. Could have a little bounce and so on and so forth. So similar, you know, pennant type formation. If it bounces up here, then a breakout could lead to trajectory up to this level. Looking at Ethereum, kind of looks like Ethereum's consolidating in a big triangular pattern as well, but could also be a bit top heavy as well, right? So I mean, you know, if we broke down this line, then it'd probably spell some more blood for Ethereum. Similar pattern, similar trend line, except it hasn't broken out. And also be mindful that this Ethereum is a riskier play, because, you know, there's a difference between Bitcoin that's gone up, you know, a certain percentage, versus Ethereum in a few months that's, you know, popped up over 1,600%, and then on the USD popped up over I mean, this definitely looks like the drippy backside of the trend. So I'm personally not going to be buying into that triangle. You know, I mean, 5,300% gains, 5,400% gains in a few months doesn't seem very sustainable to me, right? So, and we're definitely seeing a predominance of red here. Do I think ETC is a decent store value on a bear trend, or at least better than ETH? Could be better than ETH because it hasn't gone up as much, but I don't know. I'm skeptical until proven otherwise. I'm still going to keep half my ETC that I have as an investment, fully aware of the risks that it could go all the way back into the gutter, and being okay with that and holding that, right? And the other half I'm going to sell into strength, especially if we break out and hit that 15 area. So I'm not sure if it's going to retain its value on a bear trend or not. And for all we know, maybe the bear trend isn't around the corner, but I still have to have my own personal plan and trading strategy for taking profit out. And even if we continue to break out a Bitcoin and other markets, then, you know, my goal will be to take the trades, but only to accumulate more USD and not BTC. So I'll have targets. They'll be shorter, smaller trades. Not smaller trades, but quicker targets. You know, maybe instead of going for the, I'm waiting for 1,000% or whatever, you know, maybe I'll start going for smaller percentages as we get closer in that game of hot potato. You know, maybe like 50% or something type moves, 30%, and doing it for more USD, right? So just quick game of hot potato, right? Because it's not just a game of musical chairs when you get all this new money coming in, buying at the tops and stuff. it'll turn into a game of musical chairs turn into a riot if the markets turn bear. It'll turn into a game of people hitting each other with the chairs. Right? Clampering over each other to dump their bags because they bought too high, and mass panic and hysteria in the market. We haven't even seen, not even a taste of the mass panic and hysteria that could possibly happen in the markets yet. We haven't even seen the bear trend yet. We're still in a bull trend, just with major corrections. And even being still in the bull trend with major corrections, you can get some pretty big moves. You know. Now, how long could the bull trend last? I mean, I don't know, right? This is my hypothesis and it's my plan. Whatever. Maybe I go out a bunch at 4,000. Maybe it goes up to 5,000. Maybe I miss out on an extra $1,000 move, or maybe I have to take separate trades on dips or whatever if it goes up to higher prices. I'm okay with that. I don't have to have like flawless execution and a crystal ball to make money and be profitable, right? I just have to have a plan and a strategy that works for me. And I just know the higher up everything goes, the more I want to be quick on the trigger, and not, sometimes if you're just too greedy, that's when you get slaughtered, right? Being too greedy. So you gotta put the greed in check sometimes and just do what's right. Now, if you feel that I'm full of it and that it'll continue to go up and maybe it goes up to 10,000 or whatever, then you got to come up with a plan that's right for you, right? If that means that you're going to accumulate more Bitcoin and you're not going to sell any Bitcoin, take our profit, go into cash, and you want to just continue with Bitcoin, and maybe you're right. Maybe we'll look back and it goes up to $10,000, right? I'd rather treat each level as a separate trade, though. And I personally, I know how the markets react to these black swan events. I don't know, leading up to August 1st, unless fundamentals really change, unless the fundamentals are like, okay, all of a sudden all the miners are on board, we're activating SegWit, there's not going to be a split in the network, we're all singing Kumbaya, and Bitcoin's going to live happily ever after, then, okay, well then the fundamentals changed. Maybe my game plan can change and adapt to that, right? But as far as the information that I have now, I'm not seeing any agreements between both parties. And I personally welcome a split in Bitcoin. I personally don't mind the chaos. I don't mind if I have two coins. I don't mind if the different factions get to part paths and use their own use the free market to make their own voluntary choices on what it is that they want to support, right? And even if I don't agree with the other side, I respect their decision to go fork and have their own chain, and maybe we can all just forget about it after and move on, like with Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, and everyone can have their own version and brand and flavor of Bitcoin, right? So I'm okay with that. Rip the band-aid off. End the 2-year deadlock drama. So, that's one of the reasons I support user-activated soft fork. At least it's going to put an end to the drama, even if it means splitting the network. And then, then we could just... and it's more trades for us. It means if you have any Bitcoin, you'll probably get double the Bitcoin. It means one market might pump, the other might dump. One might do this, one might do that. There might be liquidity here. There might be revenge trading on each side. Maybe it's pure chaos and economic warfare taking out on the battlefield of the markets. And, I don't mind that. It's more volatility. I'm actually looking forward to a bear trend, to be honest. I mean, I know that sounds twisted, but all this up and up and up and up and up, after a while it kind of gets boring, right? Let's get some volatility. Let's get some bounce plays. Let's get some shorting happening. Let's create a new market cycle so that all of us, crypto whales who have been racking it in from the last accumulation phase will have more money to accumulate even larger on the next accumulation cycle. Or all of the new money that's come in recently and joined our school and has joined into crypto. If you survive the bear trend and you play it smart and wisely and manage risk and maybe even make some profit, then you'll get the benefit of being able to accumulate like the rest of us did. Everyone knew who's coming in. You're talking to OGs who are buying this stuff for pennies on the dollar at like much, much cheaper than what you're getting it at now. So when people ask me, do you think Ripple's cheap? You're talking to someone who's buying it at half a penny. Of course, no, I don't think it's cheap. Is Ethereum cheap? No, I was buying it at $7. I don't think it's cheap. Is Bitcoin cheap? I was buying it at $180, $200. No, I don't think it's cheap. I don't think anything is cheap right now, except for maybe a few mid caps that are still newish. Maybe some of those are cheap. How those are going to fare, how all these ICO tokens are going to fare during the bear trend, I don't know. I'm not sure. We haven't had such a big ICO boom bubble before. All I have to compare it to really is 2014 bear trend. And in 2014, the hottest markets were all these proof of work and proof of stake clone coins. Basically people launching coins, maybe sometimes with a pre-mine, sometimes with a hidden pre-mine, and it was all about mining. Right now it's all about the ICO, right? So I know in 2014, all of those hot crypto trinkets, the Dogecoin, the Litecoin, this and that. You think Litecoin's cheap? Nobody wanted to buy it at $4. Now it's $50. Everybody wants it. It's like, I lived through a Litecoin bear trend. I saw Litecoin go from 55. I saw Litecoin go from 50 cents to $55, all the way back down to 90 cents in a bear trend. Ask me if I think Litecoin is a good investment right now. I personally don't. Does that mean it can't go up higher? Sure, it can go up higher. Probably good trading. It's been breaking out. Definitely, could be some good trading. But bag holding, I don't know. Maybe because it's got changed fundamentals, it's got segued, it's got all that stuff. Maybe, just maybe, it could retain some of its value, but I always just err towards slight cynicism, to be honest. I'm slightly cynical, a little bit skeptical, and it's only because I lived to tell the story of living through a bear trend. And anyone who lived through 2014 will know that all the hype, all the future of crypto, all the biggest top things that everyone was going over the moon, the next Bitcoin killer, the this, the that, all of it fell into the gutter. All of it. Counterparty, NXT, BitShares, Litecoin, Dogecoin, you name it. All the top markets that everyone was gaga about all went into the garbage bin and got lit on fire, to put it lightly. Right? So do I think this time's going to be different? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if this time's going to be different. I doubt it. I'm skeptical that this time's going to be different. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm also open to being wrong. I personally don't even really care, to be honest. I don't care. I mean, if it happens, I say great. We get to reaccumulate everything for dirt cheap. Right? So in some ways, if you're really, really bullish on crypto, if you really want to invest in crypto long term and you want to make the biggest returns, then I say it's probably in everyone's best interest for us to go through a bear trend and hit another accumulation cycle. Right? Because that way, you'll get the opportunity to buy everything for dirt cheap, and then you too will get to sit back and watch in the next bubble all this new money coming, buying up all these bags that you bought for pennies on the dollar for really, really expensive. Right? And listen, it's never too late. People say, was it too late? I came in 2013. I thought I was too late. Right? I thought I was late because there was OGs who came in at 2010, 2011. It's like, oh man, I could have got my Bitcoin for $1, for 50 cents, and here I am, I'm coming in late. Well, guess what? I got to experience an entire accumulation cycle. Let me just give you an example. I got to experience an entire accumulation cycle. So trade it. Trade the markets, but don't bag hold that stuff on the reversal. I think it's, buy low, sell high. I mean, look at this. Here's 2013 for you in Litecoin. Look, it went from here to there, and then it went all the way back down into the gutter. And then it went flat and was dead for a long time. We had a little mini pump here, and now it's all the rage again. Now we're breaking out new highs. Right? Do I think that this can happen again? I tend to be seasonal. I tend to think that winter's coming. When it's going to come, I don't know. But it's very simple. Once new money starts drying up, once new money starts drying up, then that's where it ends. Basically, there's two types of fundamental phenomena that leads to tops and a reversal. When the new money starts drying up and when the old money starts taking profit, right? Because it didn't cost the old money a heck of a lot. It sure as heck didn't cost as much as it's costing half of the new people to become whales and have sizable position in things for pennies on the dollar, versus people are trying to get positions now at $50. So question, do you think that because of the massive growth of the overall market cap this year that the bear cycle could be... Yeah, I definitely do. That's a good question. I definitely do think that the bear cycle could be a lot shorter. I think that we're getting much closer to mainstream wide user adoption. And what's really yet to be determined in the current situation is if we're experiencing that right now, or if we'll get the benefit of getting to experience one more market cycle before we hit the full mainstream adoption. My preference would be option number 2. My preference would be the latter, for the exact reason that I stated earlier, that it'll give everyone an opportunity to reaccumulate at cheap levels. And I know a lot of people have made a lot of money off of this recent bubble. A lot of the stealth ninjas who were in with us last year in 2016 or the beginning of 2017, January and February, before all that new money came in, a lot of people were able to buy dirt cheap and watched their portfolios balloon, right? So in all honesty, I'd like to see that for all the new people coming in too. I'd like them to experience something similar, because it's a great feeling. It's a life-changing situation. But you're not going to experience that loading up and investing in Litecoin at $50. You might get lucky and it might double and go to 100. Maybe it goes to triple and it goes to 150, but I'd consider that more lucky than smart, right? Because the most brutally effective strategy is always to buy low and sell high. And anything that goes up 1,500%, anything that goes up 1,500% or whatever in a month isn't really something that I consider cheap or sustainable, in my opinion. I'm definitely leaning towards one more cycle before mainstream adoption. I think there's still some growing pains. I think a lot of it's still very technical. There's still a lot of huge risks for people. I think we're getting there. We're getting a taste of what it's going to look like. We're getting much closer. We definitely have more infrastructure and more money and more users who've come in than in 2014. But I think a lot of the top buyers need to be shaken out, though. Right? We need the cascade. And all these ICOs on Ethereum, they're just raising so much money. Tons and tons of money. When will they liquidate? That's the question. Because don't forget, just because someone raises $150 million in an ICO worth of Ethereum doesn't mean that they're not governed by the same silly emotions that drive all the rest of the dumb money in the markets. Doesn't mean that they're not driven by fear and greed, and that they won't panic market sell if they watch their millions of dollars in helicopter money slipping between their fingers like sand. That they won't be, and it's all paper gains until they sell, right? So we don't know how long the new money could come in, right? Maybe this bubble lasts a lot longer than anticipate. Maybe we don't see a big drop off and sell off before August 1st. I think there's a couple of massive targets for some good black swan events like Bancor, the user activated soft fork. I think there's definitely, an exchange got hacked recently, didn't really impact the markets too much, but hopefully that black swan event isn't an exchange hack. That's the least favorable for us traders, obviously. But a massive smart contract with $150 million in it, turning buggy like the Dow, and then getting drained and then forcing everyone into a hard fork bailout or splitting the Bitcoin network in two and stuff like that. I could deal with those black swan events. I'm all for that type of volatility, but having exchange capital hacked is obviously the least favorable. But something like that could also lead to massive chaos in the markets too. So anyways, I'm not trying to be Chicken Little and cry that the sky is falling all the time, right? I personally don't have any attachment whatsoever to bull or bear, right? My preference would be to see a bit of both. My preference would be to see one last push up, sell into strength, and then some chaos, some bearishness. Shake up the markets a little bit. Everyone's getting too bubbly. People forget that this is crypto. This time is different, people say. This time is different. This is crypto. I highly doubt that this time is different. As soon as a lot of people feel so secure in thinking that this time is different is often when things go into chaos. But check this out. Imagine if you bought up here and your bags literally drop 97% or whatever. Right? I tweeted, I just warn people. I tell people about what I've observed in market cycles and stuff, and I tell people, it's like if you think a crypto bear trend is anything, it's like nothing you've ever seen before. Imagine losing 95% of the dollar value of your portfolio. Imagine that. Right? This is not like the regular markets. If the regular stock markets fall 20%, that's considered an official bear trend, right? That's like the end of the world. Like the entire economy starts doing backflips, and now you get bailouts and bail-ins and everything, quantitative easing, all that stuff. They try to patch it up with some duct tape and bubble gum, right? Get the ball, keep the ball rolling, keep the scheme rolling, right? But this is crypto. There's no Big Daddy who's gonna save the day. No one's gonna hit the circuit breakers for you if the markets dump. No one's gonna QE the markets to keep them up in a perpetual state of inflating. This is 24/7 live, guerrilla jungle, and sink or swim, right? Yeah, of course, unless it's GDAX, then they'll bail you out. They'll refund you in a flash crash, and they hit the circuit breakers. They'll stop the exchange, shut it down if it starts to dump. So they're all for that. I haven't seen them in a long time actually keep their doors open when the market's dump. Bitcoin could dump 2% and everything falls apart. You can't even get on their exchange. I don't trade there for that reason. But anyways, and this is, in my opinion, this is the way the market should be. Right? Let things go through their cycles. How are people supposed to be traders and make money if markets are never allowed to go through their cycles? Obviously the other version of perpetual QE and pumping the markets is good for long-term investors, I suppose. But, overall, crypto in the large picture in the long run has been fairly bullish. So, So I'm not calling either or. What I'm telling you is that I'm weighing out possibilities and probabilities, which is all I can do as a trader because I don't have a crystal ball. The president of I don't have the president of Bitcoin on auto dial where I can call him up. Hey, where's the market gonna go? Maybe if we get the forked version, there will be a new president of Bitcoin or a president or something like that. Maybe Craig Wright. $20,000 nodes. Anyways, so that's that. So I'm just weighing out possibilities and probabilities. I'm creating a plan based on that. And I'm going to stick with my plan unless dynamics in the markets fundamentally or technically happen to change. And do I know how long the bubble or bull trend is going to last? No, I don't know. I have no clue. Maybe I hit it bang on, it hits my target, and then it's over, and then I seem like a superstar. Or maybe I'm wrong, and it goes up longer and longer, or whatever, right? So it's fine. It's all good. You just gotta adapt, follow the fundamentals, follow the TA. So someone's saying that Waves teamed up with Deloitte. Looks like they're having a little bounce play. And this would be the final thing, but I guess there's an immediate breakout probably here. I personally, I kind of just staying away from these kind of markets that are up a bunch. But that's just me. I mean, one could possibly actually catch a nice little bounce play. I mean, if I were to treat it like a bounce play trade, I'd probably just sell at this area unless it had a full recovery. And if you want to measure, good dip buying possibilities, then obviously it retraced to 51 or 50% area. Something else I want to show you guys. If you see a market bleeding for 3 days or longer, like with Bitcoin, and you start selling on the third day, you're doing it wrong. Check this out. It almost starts to become really predictable. Oh, 3 days of blood. 3 days of blood with one little retrace in between. 3 days of blood. Four days of blood. Mostly 3, but 4 right there. Right? And it's usually on the weekends. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Check this out. 3 days of blood. Oh, look, another one. 3 days of blood. And then somehow when it goes 3 days of blood and it bounces on a trend line and I go long, people think I have some kind of magic abilities. They're just this is just logic. Hit up trend line, it bled for 3 days. 3 days of blood, 1 day of blood, blah, blah, blah. What else? Look at that. 3 days of blood. Wow. It's a miracle. One could kind of say 3 days of blood because this big candle dumped pretty heavy. So 3 days of blood. Let's see. 2014. 2013. Hey, 3 days of blood. Wow. What a miracle. Obviously, bear trends could dump a little bit. So you want to match up the technicals. So 1, 2, let's see, a little retrace here. 1, 2 days, retrace some chop, and then 3 days of blood. So this is where the real dumping happened, and then the bounce. This slow, grindy, choppy bearishness, lots of not my favorite types of dumps, not my favorite types of dip buys. Lots of days of selling off. So obviously bear trends. When you get sharp, it's usually 3 days. If you get slow grind down, expect like months. Look, there's just months of sell off. You know. June, July, August, September, November, just months of sell-off, grindy sell-off. This is what a bear trend would look like. When it's sharp, it's usually 3 days. Even here, like look at this, 3 days, a little retrace, 3 days, and then a bounce. Alright, so we're seeing a little bit of selling happening. Well, wouldn't be surprised if it retests this line and then bounces. And I'm okay with that. So, we shall see. Just a quick peek of CFI. It could be a nice little dip opportunity for anyone who didn't get a good fill or wants to add. I'm just being patient. CFI is kind of still bleeding a bit. A little bit choppy. This is a long play for me. I think once they start launching, like helping out ICOs and stuff, I think there'll be more market demand. There's not a lot of market demand because a lot of people don't even know what's coming down the pipeline. Some people know some projects, and I'm sure the pass holders have some or whatnot. Yeah, CFI could bleed more if Bitcoin dumps. And I'm okay with that. I have my position. I'm just holding it. It's in my investment category. I'm not actively trading it. Strategically, there's also a reason why I'm doing it that way. Because when I do decide to sell it, if it becomes a significant gain for me, I want it taxed under capital gains as a lower tax bracket versus as trading income. Right, so that's one personal thing that I'm doing just strategically, right? For it, if I pick a couple picks and I just hold them for a while, then at least in Canada I could separate that out and say I could say that's capital gains, right? Obviously, you have to consult your accountant or tax specialist or whatever. I'm not a advisor. I've just been doing research, thinking of different strategies. But in Canada, it's like this: if you're a trader and you make profit, you don't pay capital gains tax; you pay income tax. If you're a profitable trader, you're going to be in the higher echelon, the percentage, 52%, which can be very brutal. If you're not a professional trader and you just kind of do it on the side, then you could theoretically get taxed, say it's capital gains. However, if I have some that I just hold longer term as investment that I could just show, hey, it's just been sitting here for a year or whatever, and then it appreciates, I could say, no, this wasn't trading capital, this was just investment, and then capital gains only gets taxed on 50% of the gains instead of the entire gains being taxed. So I think roughly it works out to like 25%, right? So I mean, there's a reason for that, but don't let my personal reason or strategy for doing that necessarily, impact your decisions. I mean, you have to figure out what's right for you based on your personal situation. Like I said, I have skin in the game because I know the people. It's as simple as that. I like the project, I know the people, and I'll tell people time and time again, I am biased. Right? I'm biased towards this market and token. Does that mean that this is going to be the best performer out of all the other tokens? No, maybe probably not. I don't know. Right? Does that mean that it's something that you should just follow and do the same if you don't agree with my reasons or you haven't looked into it or done due diligence? I'd say everyone has to make their own decisions ultimately. So I've given you my reasons, and so I'm holding for that reason, those reasons, and that's that. That said, other markets like last year, like Strat, have gone up quite considerably from the point where I got in, which is at 5 cents. So, is that going to happen with this one? I don't know. We shall see. Ethereum Classic was another one. ICN was another one. Not a lot of people were into ICN last year. Didn't see a lot of traders talking about it on Twitter. Good. More profit for the rest of us. And this isn't even on Poloniex, and it made some amazing gains. It's not even on Poloniex, and it made these kind of gains. So, if Bitcoin continues to go bull or holds up, then I wouldn't be surprised to see more altcoins rally. But I would still be very cautious about buying ones that are up significantly high. And if you do, just realize the risks, realize that's hot potato, and also realize that there's no guarantee that Bitcoin will rally and break those levels. Be prepared for anything. You got to have your lines in the sand. You have to have your plan. Right? You have to be flexible. Not so flexible that you're shooting from the hip and you've got no plan and you're just chasing emotion. But flexible as in you have a plan that takes both possible scenarios. Alright, so sorry, I just cut out there for a second. So, yeah, basically, I just plan for either direction, right? I have a hypothesis that we broke out, and perhaps it goes bull, but, if I'm proven otherwise and we flop and it's game over, then it's game over. Plan accordingly, right? But, unless something significant happens, the smaller movements to me are just, I just generally tend to ignore them. Right? I'll watch them, but I don't, it doesn't cause a lot of concern or anything, right? Little retracements or stuff like that. Now, if the Bitcoin market dumped and then next thing you know the price is down here, well, that kind of tells a different story, doesn't it? Then it's like, okay, maybe we're not going to get our final push, right? And I'm flexible. I would like it to pick a direction. As would be my preference, to pick a direction and to move, move forward with a lot of strength in that direction. Obviously, if we build momentum in either direction, it's going to make it very favorable to us traders. When you get really tight, choppy movements in range, or like a lot of choppy fake outs or whatever, not really great trading conditions, right? So, it's like surfing on a still pond instead of waves in the ocean, or a tsunami. So anyways, that's today's market update. So I'm just playing the waiting game, and any trades I take on any coins will have much shorter targets moving forward. So let's see what happens. after August 1st. I'm kind of excited, even if there is chaos. It's finally something's gonna happen with Bitcoin, right? It's all gonna come to a pinnacle, and I think that's a good thing because it's been stagnant. We need to get past the stagnation, right? We need to rip the band-aid off. I'm all for that. And if you know how to trade, then a little bit of chaos in the markets isn't a bad thing, right? All right, folks, that's it for today's updates. See you in the next one. Cheers.